So yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Card Crunchers podcast. I'm here with Jamie as always, and we've got another guest on the show. We've got Chibi Collect Sam. So if you'd like to introduce yourself to the viewers and let them know what you do.
Awesome. So, firstly, thanks for having me on. Been looking forward to this for a couple of weeks now. But yeah. So I'm Sam. People know me as Sam Chibi or Chibi, or I'm the owner of Chibi Collectables, which you'll probably see me at a lot of the UK card shows. So I run a TCG store. So I have an eBay. Obviously vending at TCG events is like a really big thing for me. But I also now kind of branch out to I'm trying to branch out to European events, to American events, start getting across the pond, vending there, getting involved with all the US players. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, but yeah, excited to be here.
Well, thanks for joining us. We're always excited to have a guest and pick their brains and listen to their stories. So if we just start off with like how you got into Pokemon, like what was that? What does that journey from start to where you are now look like?
Yeah, so it's a pretty long one to be honest, but it's long because I've been in the hobby for so long. So about 2011, I met my now fiance, and luckily we were kind of both into Pokemon. It was like a big thing we did together. So around 2012, and I say there's not many people who's in the hobby now who were in it back then, but we just started like buying like collections up. I remember buying my first collection for like £100. Literally like £100 back then was a lot of money to me, and
Yeah.
I'd buy stuff to keep. I'd then sell the rest. I'd kind of just like recycle the money and keep what we needed. At the start, it was all about collecting base set from when I had a child. As a child, I had my binder still, but it was like I used to collect in like the 151, so it wasn't in sets. It was like just Pokemon everywhere. So I kind of completed them, did my fossil, my Team Rocket, my jungle, like everyone does. And then I just started getting a little bit deep into Pokemon. And at the time, gold stars were like really big. They were a lot cheaper than they were now, but they were around like £20, £25 a card. I think even like the Charizard and the Rayquaza were like maybe £100 a card. Like it wasn't crazy. But yeah, I kind of just started collecting them, and I wanted a complete raw set, and that was like my goal. So I'd buy collections with a gold star in, keep the gold star, sell everything else. And literally, we did that for, I don't even know, 2 or 3, 4 years. I think I got to the point where I had X amount, I think it was like 11 or 12, and was still a student at the time. And I was like, yeah, I can't afford to sit on, I think
Yeah.
it's like £300 worth of cards. I sold them all. So I can't do it. And then I think I got a part-time job, and I was like, right, I'm going to actually complete it now. So I did. I think it took about 12 to 14 months, and I completed the whole gold star set. And then I was like, right, what next? So then I did like the Shinings. I did the secret rare SLs from like Platinum, like the baby shiny ones kind of thing, the reverses. And then yeah, we just kind of collected. We started a really tiny YouTube channel, which isn't to be known by anyone at the minute. But I was literally just ripping for fun with my fiance. We'd also trade a lot on there. Like YouTube was quite big for trading because there wasn't, your Discords, your Instagram was only just starting out. It wasn't easy to get trading. And yeah, so we kind of got into it then. We collected and ripped a load of boxes from XY, black and white. It was like a thing we got the weekends. We go to Argos. It was like 3 for 2 on toys. We get 3 tins for like £20 at the time. It would be like the black and white ones and the early X and Y, and we just enjoy ripping them, and it was amazing. I think I started an Instagram account in, I think it's like 2015, 2016, and just started posting stuff on there really, and met a lot of people that I still know today in the hobby, which yeah, is really amazing. I know I have a friend called Bulbasaur Diego, who was one of the first people who commented on my gold star post. And I literally met him in Card Party for the first time. I'd known him for so long. And that was like amazing. But yeah, so we kind of collected up until I think the Sun and Moon era. And
Yeah.
then we started saving for a house. So we kind of put everything on the back burner, left all the collection to the side,
Yeah.
saved for a house, stopped spending. And then I think it was maybe just before Vivid Voltage come out. I think it was just after the Logan Paul box break, the first one, and it was before like the Dumb Money box break and everything. And I just kind of got back in the hobby. I think I had a bit more spare time, some money coming back in after the house, getting everything like settled. And yeah, I just started jumping in Discords. I was in like Squeak's Discord talking to like Pokemon Radar, John, and a few other people in there, and kind of did little bits and bobs. I was buying a little bit on the side and selling some bits I didn't really want anymore. But yeah, I did that for a little bit, and then yeah, a little bit later, I think I was getting a bit annoyed with my workplace, and I was like, right, I really need to do something a bit different. I was a graphic designer before. I'd studied for literally like 6 years or something silly like that. I'd been in this place for 3 years now, and I was getting a bit like, right, I really want to. I'm one of these people who strive to be the best at what I do, and I always put
Yeah.
a lot of effort into it, and they kind of stopped me doing that. So I just kind of put a lot of attention into Pokemon. I was like, what do I enjoy doing again? What do I know I'm good at, and what do I have the knowledge in? And Pokemon's literally like, yeah, I'm so clued up on Pokemon stuff that I was like, right, let's give it a go. So I did. I kind of just quit my job. I handed in my notice. I quit my job. Nothing in the to back me up. I had a little bit of savings.
Yeah.
I started off with £500 in the bank account, and that was 2021. So it wasn't like everything was still cheap. And I literally just bought and flipped and bought and flipped until I got to the point where, I was doing okay. I was doing what I used to do at my old job. Um, and then yeah, everything since then, since 2021, I met Chloe, I met Dean, and everything's just kind of grown since then. And yeah, now we're at the point where I'm flying to America like every couple of months. I'm doing events everywhere. Um, from today, I've just been at the Northern Card Show yesterday, but a week ago I was at the Scotland Card Show. Next week I'm in Bristol for a show. Then there's a few weeks and I'm in Japan, and then it's crazy. But yeah, that's a little bit about my story. It's been a longer one than most, but I've been here for so long. I
Yeah.
feel like one of the OGs, and I know a lot of people in the hobby that are the OGs as well. So it's great to like meet them and stuff.
Like that sounds for starters amazing. Like well done and congrats to how well that's gone. Did you think it would go like when you quit your job? Did you think that would happen like so quickly? Because
Um,
that seems like just
yeah,
unreal. That it seems unreal. Like it just went so smoothly, and now you're just like going to all the events and
yeah. So I think I always had confidence because I'm like a big numbers person. So I was like, right, what did I like earn at my day job,
yeah,
and what did I have to do to re-earn that money? And at first, don't get me wrong, it was a slug. It was like I was buying collections and selling everything. Some cards were like £1, some were £2. There's a lot of like hard work invested in that
yeah,
early days. But I kind of knew what to pick up. I think that really helped. I wasn't like overspending on stuff. Um, I was picking up really good collections that I made a lot of money and let me invest in other stuff a lot quicker. But I think the biggest turning point is I went to do the Poke podcast with Chloe and Dean in I think it was like May or April last year, and I got to their house and we got along really well. And I just looked at what they were doing. I was like, I really need to step up my game here.
yeah,
Um, and I'm like one of them people where when I have like a goal in my head and I want to like mix it with everyone who's, someone in the hobby, I really put my mind to it. So I kind of just like, I went to my dad. I was like, Dad, I was like, I've got this idea. I need a bit of help. So he helped me with a bit of money because obviously in Pokemon, capital's everything. The more money you have in the bank account, the more you can spend, the more you can make. That's literally,
yeah.
you can't do Pokemon on like a
No,
shoestring budget. It's impossible. You can do it. It just takes a lot more time and it's a lot more grinding, and you've got to be a lot more like careful with what you're buying because you buy the wrong thing and it puts you down, puts you back like maybe a month's worth of work. So he helped me out, and from that point, I just managed to like, I wouldn't say gamble, but I managed to like invest in the right things at the right time. So like raw Poncho Pikachu's, I was buying a lot of them up and grading them. Again, I should go back. I was mainly a raw collector and seller, but then I seen the margins on PSA stuff, and I was like, yeah, for the business, it makes sense to grade. So that's all I would do then. I'd literally pick up higher end cards, grade them, like maybe double my money, sell them, and then reinvest again. And it just kind of burned and churned until I think like Worlds as well, where I met a lot of people, and it kind of a lot of people that I'd known who were OGs like Gem Mint Pokemon and Mr. Fuji, and I'm like, yeah, I really want to stay in touch with all these people, and I just thought the best way to do that is show them that I can actually talk the talk and walk the walk, and that's literally what I've done so far. It's been like I will put everything into it and I'll make it work, and so far it's kind of going well.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like
It's a
your
fantastic job.
yeah, it sounds like your knowledge that you've had over all of those years
Yeah,
played a massive part in how quickly you turned it into a success. Like
yeah,
without that knowledge and knowing what to buy, it may have gone slower or
yeah,
just been more difficult. So yeah, I mean, well done to you. That's yeah, that's amazing.
right.
And I'd love to hear those stories. And going back to when you used to trade, I think is that how you two met, you and Jamie? Didn't you do a trade or something?
When
Uh,
did we meet? I think 2020. I think it might have been before, and so, but I had a
yeah,
different Instagram account.
yeah. I remember Jamie being on the platform as the Pokey King for ages. That I'd consider as an OG. We probably did do a trade. I can't remember. I'm not gonna lie. I know I bought some like Weiss boxes off you not too long ago. But I've done business with so many people.
Yeah.
I forget like what I've done. But we probably did. It wouldn't surprise me.
So
Yeah, your journey's been just, yeah, is something that I think a lot of people watching this is probably going to be inspired by, I suppose, because
Yeah,
it really is a hustler's story. I
yeah,
know we've had other content creators on before, and we've got plans for others, but your story I think is slightly different. That knowledge of the game obviously is a massive help for those
yeah,
that are watching this that are looking at doing something similar. That knowledge is something I I don't think you can buy. Honestly, you have to have that just from that experience and hobby.
yeah,
Obviously, you can get that over the last couple of years, but that that knowledge of buying. But one of the things you mentioned about was buying the wrong thing can put you back a month is something that a lot of people don't realize. They think you just keep buying and selling and it always
yeah.
works, but obviously it doesn't. Um, but yeah, so obviously about the card shows, you're doing some are all around the world. What is the big difference for you between the UK card shows and those that are in America, for instance?
I think it's the overall like atmosphere and the vibe. So don't get me wrong. I think the first card show I did was like the Cardiff one in September. One of Gav's early ones. Shout out to Gav, by the way. What a guy. But yeah, it was the early Cardiff one, and I did that, and I really enjoyed it. And I think I did a couple more. I think we went to a lot of London ones as like just walking around and enjoying the day and stuff. And then in February it was, I went to Orlando. It was a really last minute thing. I think I booked it like a week or something before I was flying out. Obviously Chloe and Dean were going out, and I kind of just followed them a little bit and was like, I'll go with them and see what happens. And it was also to get, which we'll go on to later, get some cards graded through CGC. I wanted to hand deliver them. But yeah, when I walked into Collecticom, it was like, it was breathtaking. The amount of people that are there and show up, and I was talking about this last night to Gav when we were after the show, but we are saying like there's nearly 1,000 vendor tables at a Collecticon. You walk in and you don't expect to walk around the whole event in a day. Um, and the amount of variety and the amount of people that actually want to like work with you, whether it's, buy X amount and they'll give you like a bit of a discount. They want to trade, they want to buy stuff off you. I think a lot of people in the UK, and I've been told this a lot, there's not many people who actually want to buy off people walking around. They don't want to trade, they don't want to do that little bit of hustle. Like, I love the hustle, don't get me wrong. Like, I would trade and buy and sell and walk around to vendors all day until my legs are aching because I enjoy it so much. Um, the difference is, I think it's more of an event. You do a collecticon, it's an event, it's a weekend event. Like, people meet up in the hotel lobbies afterwards. There's people from every part of the hobby coming into it, whether that be your gem mint Pokemons, your Dan gotta catch 'em all collectibles, and like then you've got like smaller people who come in and mix, and it's more like a family of people who meet up at events now. I think London, and we'll go to London because it's like probably the biggest in the UK. It's more of like you go there, you maybe vend for the day, and then you kind of go home, and it's not an event. It's more like a turn up, you sell, you go home, and you don't really talk to anyone else. Like
Yeah.
especially we went to card party, I think it was last month in LA, and that was we got there on I think it was the Thursday. We'd been flying for I think it was 12 hours or 10 hours, however much it was, ridiculous amount of flying time. And we got to the hotel. We bumped into like Chloe and Dean, and we bumped into a few more friends. We then went to the Disney downtown Disney, went for some food of Leonhardt. We then came back. We then started buying and selling slabs, and then before you know it, a small little thing of like 5 people turned into like 25 people buying and selling and trading between each other. I was like, this is crazy. You look around, there's kids coming over and like, do you want to buy this? Do you want to trade this? And you're like, you just don't really get this in the UK. It's like, I think maybe people are more comfortable over there and they're not like in the shell a little bit. They just want to get and know people and see the rarest cards and, trade for this and, trade up challenge that. And it's amazing. Like, yeah, the UK's, I think, has a little bit of blinkers on and there's a lot of room for improvement. But we're early days. So, I think it's 2 years since the first card show, maybe. So the US have a bit of time lost, but if people flew to the US and seen, there's a lot you can take note of, and there's a lot you could bring over and replicate. It's not that difficult in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, we might get there eventually. Watch this space.
Do you think that's because of like just the sheer scale in the US compared to UK, or or maybe just the amount of time they've had to like create those events?
Yeah.
Because we've only really had these events post COVID, haven't we? Like,
Yeah, really.
so it's, yeah, like you said, I guess it's still early days for the UK,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're also just much smaller, I suppose, as well. It's probably not
Yeah,
helping.
we're a lot smaller, and I think people seem to forget that like collecticons are like multiple different cities or states across the US as well. It's not like in one place, but they'll only do one a year, and I think that's something maybe the UK scene has kind of forgotten about. The best events are the ones that you look forward to, not the ones that happen every 2 or 3 months.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of events now are doing way too often. And obviously, like you said, we're a lot smaller. So even for myself, like I would say I can go through the most stock and like replenish my stock more than a lot of people. It's difficult for me to get new stock in every single show, have it different. So someone who's gone to a London show and seen what I've got, and then I go to Bristol, will have see different things. It's so difficult. Whereas like there, when you have like a whole year to plan, and maybe if you only plan certain events, but it's different states, and obviously you could fit UK how many times into the US?
yeah,
It's crazy. So you don't get the same people going, except for like the people full time Pokemon, the dedicated people in it. Whereas the UK, you get a lot of the same crowd going, the same vendors, and that's across the country. I think this year I don't even know how many times I've vended, but it's been way over 10 times. And I try and change on my stock all the time and make it different for people. Like after this, today I've got to replenish all my binders from yesterday, put new stuff in, ready for next week. But yeah, I think there's too many UK card shows. There should be less, and they should be less often. Like twice a year for a certain event is enough. Just make it bigger and better. It's like everyone's trying to get people there all the time, and even like events being in the same like locations. Like there was one in the Bolton yesterday and one in Manchester. They're only like half an hour apart drive.
yeah,
They're not. It's not needed. Like you should just come together and say, "All right, we're going to do one big show in Manchester." Because like Manchester is really good for the
Yeah.
north and getting to instead of like multiple across because people aren't gonna it's hard because people aren't gonna go to this one and then not go to that one, or they might only have
yeah,
a weekend off a month or something to go to one, then they've got to pick, and it's like it's detrimental for the sellers. It's also detrimental to the event like because it puts like a bad thing. If you go to an event and there's not many people turn up, like now for me, because I'm so busy, I might not do that event next year
Yeah.
because I'm like, well, I can't spend one of my weekends there when I could be over here, or I could not be selling stock for another show further down the line. So it's difficult. It is difficult, but there's a lot of room for improvement in the UK, and I think people need to like understand that I think more is less. No, less is more. That's the one. Less is more in
Yeah,
terms of card shows.
Yeah,
quality over quantity. Yeah,
Yeah, basically.
yeah. I guess where it's new, there's been a lot popping up, and
Yeah,
people are trying to get like established. So perhaps that's why they're trying to do so many events as well
yeah,
to get that name out there. But yeah, I think it is a case of it needs to be quality over quantity, and it might be getting oversaturated at this point because of how small the UK is. Um, but yeah, I mean, great points. Like you said, like if there was one or two big ones a year, it would probably be very different
yeah.
than the ones you're going to. I mean, I assume because you go to so many, they do well for you as a seller.
Yeah, so some of them do, some of them don't. It's a lot of hit and miss. It's a lot of obviously we're still early days and a lot of them are like new. So you got to take that risk. But like we went to the Scotland one, and I know from doing a lot of others that there's no others near Scotland. I think there's one in Newcastle, but it's like a more smaller event. So I knew Scotland would be good to go to. So we did Scotland, and it was a successful event. It was fun. It was nice. I've already said I'll go to the one in Glasgow. It's going to go to move to Glasgow next year. I've done one London this year, but I've not been able to do another one because it keeps clashing with international events that I'm going to. Cardiff I've done, which Cardiff is a really good event, like really good event. I enjoy that one every time we go. I've done quite a few like Manchester ones because they're very close to me. Like a 40-minute drive, an hour drive, I feel is worth it, even if it's not as great on sales. Because it's, you cut out hotel costs, your massive fuel costs, your time, the traveling, everything on top. So it kind of balances itself out. But it's definitely starting next year. There'll be ones that I'll probably cut out and ones that I'll make more of an effort to go to. Just because like my time is I always think is like really like precious. And what I spend my time on, I could be doing something else. If it's not working, I shouldn't keep sticking at it. I should move on and see what else I can do that would help or benefit me better. Again, I think next year for myself, I think I want to do a few more European ones. So I actually did an event in Norway in December, and that was new because like it's Norwegian prices, and I don't know if you know Norwegian currency, but
Yeah,
every £1 is like I think it was 12 Norwegian kroner at the
yeah,
time. So that was funny pricing stuff up. Um, I also couldn't use like my sum up reader, so I had to have a friend who had like the Norwegian like Cash App or whatever it was to take all my money through. But that was just eye opening as an experience, and I really enjoyed it. I met a lot of people in Norway that I now like consider really close friends in the hobby. That I've been to Norway, I think it's 3 times now since that December. Just meeting people, doing deals over there. Yeah, it's crazy. So I'd like to do a few more like European ones. I think there might be one in Germany coming up very soon. Obviously we went to Paris, but we didn't vend for La Gala. I'd also like to do one Collecticon. I think it's just a bit more of a task because I couldn't take what stock I'd normally take. It'd be a lot more like cards and stuff. But it's gonna be fun. Like I say, there's so much opportunity out there to vend not just in the UK but abroad as well. That why not? You got to try it once. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. At least you tried it.
yeah, yeah. It's a great mindset to have because you don't know what's going to go well until you do it.
Yeah,
Like you've got no idea. So, and I think there's probably a lot of people that aren't trying those types of things, that aren't going to
yeah,
different countries, and they're just turning up to their the most local
yeah,
events to them to vend at and things like that. So yeah, I mean it's great that you're trying to do that, and I guess you're making connections everywhere you go as well, which is
yeah,
something that people probably underestimate potentially when they think about selling,
yeah.
going full time and selling things like that. Going back a bit, in 2012, do you remember what it was that got you back into it?
I think it was a mixture of stuff. So it was obviously meeting my fiance at the time. When we first got together. She was really into Pokemon as well, and we kind of, we'd be together at the weekends. Like we were only, I think, 18 and 19 at the time, so we'd spend the weekends together, and we'd like. It's gonna sound cringy, but put on like prime time Pokemon and literally just leave them on repeat. Sort out cards together. I'd list stuff on eBay. Maybe do a YouTube video, and then I think that's what it was. Like I
Yeah.
remember a little bit earlier than that when I got a little bit of like money in my account when I was maybe like 17, 18. I like started like buying some cards to complete my binders. But it wasn't until then it really like it was like a thing we did together, so it kind of just escalated and escalated and escalated to the point where we were buying loads of collections and just kind of taking what we wanted. I know at the time I Lottie, my fiance, so I have to keep saying my fiance, but Lottie would want every single card from every single set. So we'd literally buy collections and then bind her half the cards and then sell what we didn't want. And that's what we did for a very long time. It's how we built up the collection we have
Yeah.
today. So you can probably see here. So these are all our like binder collections. Oh no, well, this is like some of the binder collection. A lot of it's in a different room. But they're like a base set each, a jungle set each, a fossil each, Team Rocket. We have like all the gym sets, all the Neo sets, Southern Islands, and then there's a few other things like we've got 2 master sets of VX Fire Red Leaf Green that we picked up for literal steals back in the day. There's also like a Call of Legends set. That is how I first met Chloe on eBay. Very similar to how Dean did. So Chloe was selling a load of sets. Call of Legends I thought was a cool set. It had all the legendaries in. So I kind of picked up I think it was a full reverse set. I was missing 1 or 2 Call of Legends. So I bought that off her because I had all the SLs from collecting all the shiny Pokemon back in the day. So yeah, and then we're near enough completed a master set of Black and White completely through. I think we're about 30 cards off doing the same for X and Y. But like, yeah, in terms of buying the sets or what we do now, I don't really collect the new stuff as much. I have my own goals, and so does Lottie. So we kind of stick to them. We don't really get too involved because just, you go back to even the start of Black and White, even X and Y, you could complete a set with a case of booster boxes, easy. Now,
Yeah,
I don't know how many cases it would take. Maybe the Scarlet and Violet's a
no
little bit
chance.
different, but Sword and Shield, like, yeah, it's crazy. I wouldn't want to get involved in it.
It's a lot, yeah. So when you're collecting, obviously now I suppose, how do you when you're collecting personal items now, because I know this is a question that we asked Dean and Chloe as well. You obviously have your goals there. How do you separate when you're picking up, if you're still picking up lots and that, what you're keeping for your personal? Is there items that you'd like to keep for personal, but realize that you might have to sell on?
Yeah, there's a few stuff. So, at the start of this year, I actually graded all my gold stars that I had, and I had them for 6 years. I sold all them for I think it was £23,000, and literally invested all that money back into the business. I kind of got into the mindset where less is more. So my PC went from I think it was like 150 cards, all like raw, to down to I think we now own maybe about 15, maybe it's 16 cards, but they're all like PSA 10. So I mainly collect Japanese like exclusive Mew artworks in PSA 10s. And my partner, or Lottie,
Yeah.
collects Pikachus, or I've been collecting for her like ones that I think they're kind of cool, but they have never done an English release. I'm like, they'll be cool to collect. Another big part of our collection, which is probably a section in itself, is the Art Academy cards. So I don't know what happened. Just one day when I don't know, I was just searching on eBay, I saw a card pop up, and I was like, I've never seen this one before. It's from a guy from Japan, and it was Art Academy card, and I offered him, I think they were listed for 150 by it now, and I offered him like 125, and he accepted. And at the time, that was the most expensive card I'd ever purchased. And I went, oh no, what have I done? Like on impulse, just I bought it. I was like, oh no. So anyway, that turned up, and then I learned a lot more about Art Academy, which for people who don't know, the Art Academy is a contest card. It was like 2 different categories. There was Dress Up Pikachu and your favorite Pokemon, It was literally a competition on I think it was the DS at the time, or the DS XL, through the Pokemon Art Academy game. And they had to draw on with the stylus, and I was like, yeah, that's crazy. Like, some of the artwork is how they did it on the stylus, I'll never know. But yeah, I kind of got a little bit down a rabbit hole and was trying to find all the winners, because there's only 100 copies of each. The winners got sent all 100 copies to do whatever they wanted to. And yeah, I kind of just started trying to pick some up. So I would find a few winners here and message them. And, at the time, there's quite a few people trying to do the same kind of thing, but also a lot of people in there for the wrong thing. So they'd buy it and then flip it, or send it to the PSA, flip it. And a lot of sellers got turned off by that, because it was their card that they thought people were going to keep for a very long time, that was like sentimental to them in a way, and people just flip it just for the profit. And that was 2016, 2017. So yeah, we managed to collect through a lot of connections and people we used to get in contact with. I think we ended up with, I think it was 8 Art Academy cards, which at the time was, relatively significant. In the UK, for what I know, we probably have maybe the 5th biggest Art Academy collection in the country. But what was a little bit different to me is, I can actually grab one at the minute. You can actually see them here. So I would get the artist to then draw and leave me a note and do like a 1-of-1 art piece for me to go along with the card. So it's got a bit more story behind it, and it meant something. So it'd be more like a Christmas present or like a birthday present kind of thing. So we'd put money into it, because at the time, like, spending £300 on a single card was like really, the illustrator
Yeah.
back then was like 50,000. It's now what, 1 million or something daft in a PSA 9. So like, in terms of like money, it was a lot of money to spend, but we just kind of did it. And then it just got harder and harder to find the winners, and we kind of realized that maybe not every single card is going to come from a winner. It maybe have to do like kind of off someone else, which we did for one card. And I'm now trying to reach out to a few more winners that I've got like note of and I know of, to try and help, and maybe sell me like a copy of their card. But again, it's a 1 per year thing. It's a slow, and it's a lot of hard work put into it, and talking to the seller and reassuring them that I'm not here just to flip to make money. I'm here to keep the card, and it's a PC, and it will never sell until I'm literal desperate and I've got no more money to pay for my mortgage or something daft like that. But yeah, that's like what we collect now. It's really slimmed down to what it was. Especially myself, like I can't. There's a lot of cards I'd love to buy, but I can't take the money out of the business, because then again, like I said earlier, you lose money out of the business, it puts you back again, and then something might pop up in a month's time, and you're like, oh, I wish it really had that money. It was even the other week, I bought 6. It was 4. Was it 4 or 5 Poncho Pikachus and PSA 10s and a few other cards for like £10,000. But I had the money to do that, and I could make a little bit of margin on it. And it's something that, Ponchos catches everyone's attention. It's really good for the table. It's good for like Instagram as well. Instagram's a massive thing, like what content I post. But yeah, you're just able to do that. If I'd spent, and this nearly happened, so there's an Art Academy card on eBay, the Mew, which I wanted for the longest time. Mew's my favorite Pokemon, and it actually sold for, I think it was like £9,000. So if I'd bought that card, I couldn't have bought the ponchos, which would have cost me money in the long term, even though I would have had a card for the PC. But it's a lot of, yeah, sometimes you have to bite your lip and go, I'll get it eventually. It's just not the right time, and just relax a little bit. But it's hard, especially being a proper collector as well. It's like you want to collect them all, but you can't.
Yeah, I guess that capital plays a massive role, like
Yeah.
in opportunity and things like that. If you don't have it there, even those ponchos, like something else could have come up, a few days later that perhaps would have had even more opportunity. But you're like, oh, I can't even get that now, and it is what it is. I guess that's part of the business, right?
Yeah,
But yeah,
massively.
capital seems to be so important and staple in it.
Yeah.
And I guess with your PC, your personal collection, is is space another issue for you? Like slimming that down, does that help because you then have more space for stock? Because I think a lot of people forget how much inventory and how much space you need to store this stuff.
Yeah, so I store the PC. We have like we have a safe that's safely stored away, and I can only fit X amount of cards in
Yeah.
there. And obviously, when all the cards are raw, you can fit a lot more in. But when you start grading them, they start coming a bit chunky. And then when you put graded guards on them as well, they come even more chunky. And you're like, yeah, I can't fit that much in. And I'm not gonna buy a US gun safe at the minute, and I've got nowhere in my house to put it. So yeah, it's one of them things. Space is quite like a massive issue, and it's kind of like I now pick up little bits for like the display behind me, and I'll like change it here and there. Obviously, the thing that takes up the space for me is the plushes that I deal in a lot. Like that is the biggest space issue. We don't have a living room at the minute. It's more like a plushy den. It's madness, but it's one of them things. Luckily Lottie really likes plushes, so I get away with it for now. I don't know how long that'll last, but for now I get away with it. But yeah, we need to. I say a lot of this is happening quite quickly, so it's something that I need to like look. I need a safe shed outside the house or something, like somewhere I can just push 1,000 pushed into and just be like, right, they're not in the house, it's fine. But yeah, we'll get there eventually. It's just everything moves so fast that it's hard to keep on top.
So those plushies is another sort of staple of the business.
Yeah, I think it's something that's now built with the brand a little bit. I sometimes joke with people and say like the plushie king, and everyone knows if you see plushies at an event, it's gonna be me. I'm just quite fortunate where I kind of stumbled across a supplier, and it works really well for both of us. And I get roughly at the minute between like 250 to 500 plushes a month, and they just go like to shows. I use them as like trade for shop, and it's something that I want to keep doing. I know there'll be other people opening shops relatively soon that will need plushes because you can't get them. You can't buy them from the Pokemon Center. It's hard to get like distribution on them, and if you do, they're all kind of the same. Like the ones you see in game, they're all the same. Do you know what I mean? You're not gonna buy them. Whereas the ones I get are like either Pokemon Center exclusive ones or Banpresto or Ichiban Kuji ones that are like kind of hard to get hold of. So I've got a little bit of like a market there where not many people have like a hand in it, and it's not easy to get into. So I'm pretty like I'm fine on that at the minute. But yeah, just the space. The space is a killer.
Yeah, I guess that's like a good example of one of those situations where you've tried something,
Yeah.
and it did actually it worked out great.
Yeah.
And had you not had that mindset of just giving things a go, perhaps that's something you would have just other people may have skipped
Yeah.
over. But it's become a huge thing, and like you said, it's almost like a staple of your brand now. If you see the plushie, you're there. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. Speaking a bit about, I know you mentioned about modern and like how you don't really get involved in that, and I think that might come as a surprise to some people because a lot of people in the community are so focused on modern and like flipping
Yeah.
modern and the hype prices. If I get this new Japanese box at retail, I can sell it for like 5x.
Yeah.
Like what? Why do you avoid modern as a seller and are more focused on vintage where or older sets that I think a lot of people would just skip over because they don't think there's any opportunity involved?
Yeah. So in terms of the modern, so I don't personally collect too much modern. In terms of vending, obviously, modern is literally the staple. I'd say it's a little bit of reverse where now I don't even buy Watsy stuff. Like Watsy's in a weird place at the minute. It's so difficult to move. But what does move is Sword and Shield. It's Scarlet and Violet at the minute, which is something that obviously going to America really helps because I can buy a lot of stuff a lot cheaper and bring it back to the UK, and then I have a lot more stock for people. In terms of like what what people want and why I don't collect it myself is again that hype, and it's the thing where I'm like a bit of a completionist. And if I start something and then I'm spending money from the business to complete a set, and I'm like, why? I'm basically taking profit out of the business to complete a set that, there's so many sets and they come out so often now. It's not how it was black and white when it was like once every like 6 months to be a new set and you'd have loads of time to complete it. You could casually rip packs and boxes and stuff and it wouldn't really set you back too much. Whereas now it's like, I feel like it's more of like people go on a mission to complete these sets, and it's just something that I don't really want to get involved in. Obviously, for the business, modern sells really well, but that's obviously because there's so many people who are looking for certain cards to complete certain sets, and it's something where you offered me a WotC collection, or you offered me a binder of Sword and Shield, I'd probably buy the binder of Sword and Shield at this point, just business wise. Personally,
Yeah.
I'd take WotC all day, but business wise, like you got to basically sell what people want. If you're going to vend and you've got a load of WotC and you're like, I've got like the best WotC stuff here, but no one buys it, it's no good to you. It's no good to anyone. You need to have the stuff that is very easy to like rotate through stock. And again, that's coming back with having new stock every event. Obviously, there's only so many Sword and Shield cards, but if you have a couple, like I have at the minute, I think it's like 4 pages in like a 12 pocket binder of just alt arts. Then like 4 pages of trainer gallery of V's and V Maxes, then a couple of pages of golds and a couple of pages of rainbows, and then 6 pages of full art trainers. Like there's so much variety there that I know that if someone comes to my table, 99% of the time they're gonna buy at least one card because I have the availability there to pick it up. Whereas I think with like WotC and the older stuff, I've had binders before, and I do take them to shows, but it's like when I'm replacing cards in a binder, you can see what sells in the show. Like when you have the binders in front of you and you're going, right, I've sold 100 Sword and Shield cards, but 10 WotC. You're like, well, I'm doing something wrong. Shouldn't I use my space a bit better for the stuff that sells more? Um, and it again, a lot of it comes with space on tables as well, but that's like a different issue. But yeah, modern for selling is great, but obviously I'm a WotC guy at heart, I think.
Yeah, so I guess you need a bit of separation between that
Yeah,
that personal preference and then the business preference, right?
yeah.
Do you think, just talking of WotC, do you think it will ever have another sort of resurgence? What would
It's
that be, do you think?
yeah, it's difficult to say. So we had we had the big boom for the Logan Paul and the box break and everyone getting in because of the COVID thing and everyone not going out and have money to spend and trying to relive a bit of their past. I think that's kind of been and gone. I feel like I couldn't think of what would happen that would then reignite the WotC hype again. It would have to be a multiple of things, but I also think everyone who collected WotC would have got back into it
Mm-hmm.
in that time period it's already been. So I think that's why there's a bit of a downturn, and then people are now realizing they're sitting on, £2,000 worth of collections, and now they're trying to sell them. I remember pricing stuff because obviously I keep like a list of what's in our PC and like prices to stay on top of everything. And at one time, like a base set was nearly close to £1,000. I just listed one on eBay for 450, and it's still sat for 3 days, and it's still not sold yet. And that's the difference. I think there's a lot less people now wanting to buy the stuff because they've already either had it or done that kind of phase, and now they're selling. And a lot more people want to maybe like buy modern because it's out there and it's you can buy a pack and it's you, you know I'm bad for this. So at times like I'll rip a WotC pack for fun if I had a good show, and then every time I regret it massively. I have a running joke now with Harry, which is Chloe's husband, where every time I pull a holo, it's a good card, it'd be damaged in one way. I pulled the Yammer from Neo Discovery First Edition. It's been like Wolverine had clawed it, and it's like the most expensive card in the 10. I think I pulled was it an Alakazam or something from a heavy fourth print base set pack? It had like an indent on it, and I'm like, I literally can't win, so I just don't like. I enjoy it, but I don't. It's not a healthy thing to do. Whereas like modern, you can kind of like buy packs, and even at like £18 a pack from like Hidden Fates or something, it kind of makes sense because you still pull a decent card and it's less of a risk, and you can also then complete a binder, which looks cool at the end of the day. But I don't. I really don't see Watsy coming back. Not anything significant. It's probably a good time to pick it up because it is low at the minute. Whether it's worth sitting on that when you could actually burn and churn a lot of modern instead, I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that liquidity is definitely something that is not talked about a lot enough in the hobby. If you especially if you're buying and selling,
Yeah,
um, I know a lot of people holding a lot of stock of that WotC stuff, and as you said, you could churn the modern stuff a lot quicker, just because that's what people want. Being able to
yeah,
pick up those packs a lot easier, and sort of not feel so bad about opening a £400 card and not pulling anything or pulling something, but as you
yeah.
said, damaged. So in the next 12 to 18 months, where do you see the hobby going in terms of, do you see the modern craze of the Japanese stuff continuing?
Okay. So I would say that the modern's gonna keep going strong. There's way too many people now collecting sets, and I think they just do it out of like habit now, and they're just gonna keep doing it. Every new set's gonna come out. They're gonna I want to complete this set. I want to complete this set. Um, Japanese is a weird one. So I obviously we've experienced like early days of, like ponchos and other cards like this. I started grading ponchos and stuff before the hype. Like there was that mini hype that happened like maybe a month ago, 2 months ago with the waifus and the ponchos and all sorts. I think that's like one of them things that just comes and goes, and you've got to kind of ride the wave. So out of most people, I can be quite bitter about that because I sold a lot of stuff just before the hype to people that I knew, Chinese buyers, for example, who then made a lot of money off. But I was making money, but they made then 2x or 3x the money because they knew what was going to happen, where I was a little bit slow. The funniest example of that, and it shouldn't be funny, but it is. So, the Alola Friends. So I think it was back in like, was it January or December? I bought a Master Battle set, which is like above me on here that you can't see. I opened it and graded both the Pikachu and the Alolan Friends. They both came back tens. I sold the Alola Friends to Nicole. She was like a pre-hype waifu collector. She wanted it for the PC. I think it was for like 2,250. It was like comps at the time. And then I think about a few months later, she reached out. She's like, I've got another card that I want to, get involved in more. She's like, do you want to buy this back off me? So I was like, yeah, sure. So at the time, I think it went to like, I think it was about 3,000. We agreed. So she just made like a little bit of money on top. And then I was like, right, I don't really want to hold this card. Like, it's a bit of, again, it's that thing with having cash in the bank, and it's better than owning a car for too long. So then I had a friend who then bought it. I think it was roughly like 3.8k or something. So I made another £800 on it. I was like, yeah, great. Literally within 2 weeks, it skyrocketed to like $15,000. And that's a little thing of having money in the bank and not having to sell things too quick. But also where it could have not happened, and I could have sat on that for another 3 weeks and not bought anything, and then it's a weird one. Like the hobby's weird, and when you get like into the high end stuff, you really can't regret what you've done because I might have sold it, but then invested it in something else, which just then made me more money. Obviously, not as much as maybe the £10,000 I lost or could have gained, but it works both ways. Like there's stuff that I've got in grading that when it comes back might be really high in price that I didn't predict. Obviously, I had a lot of like the waifu cards in grading. I got them back and sold them for 2x what I'd like listed down as a sell price. So when I grade cards, I have like an Excel sheet, what I bought it for, what I could potentially sell it for at the time, so I could kind of early work out my profit margins. But yeah, the market's crazy, and I think you got to just be a bit more like liquid and fluid of how it works. You can't be like stuck in your ways because you will just get burnt a lot of times, or you'll be a bit too stubborn with something. and it'll cost you long term.
Yeah.
I think the best thing is like you have your inventory and then it comes in and you'll sell some bits of it and it'll go. And then once you've got like recuperated so much money or you're happy with how you are, you then sell a lot of stuff that you're not too attached to. You get money back in the account, you then reinvest it again. And then it's kind of like a big cycle. A lot of people I think are like stuck on, well, I don't want to take less than what it's worth kind of mentality where, you know, you losing £50 on a card here, you then spend it on another collection, you then make £100. But if you're gonna sit on it and try and make that extra 50, you're never gonna make the 100. It's like it's a weird thing. I think it's it's like a I've got a bit of a business money orientated brain, and it kind of would make sense to me, but to other people it might not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit weird.
No, I know others that do
It
that.
works for you though.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you have to take the losses to make more money. That's
Yeah.
something. I mean, I don't do it as a business, but just some cards that I have. I really hate selling my stuff, to be honest. But like there are times where sometimes it's like it's got to be done. Like to get that other thing that you want that potentially could go up even more. Or if you don't do it, you might miss out. You might complete like that card shoots up and you're priced out and you've missed that opportunity. I know obviously like Jamie, when you got your Flesh and Blood Alpha box, you just had to like you just sold like a lot very quickly, no matter like what those prices went for to secure that box. And I think if you hadn't done that at the time you did, you probably would have missed it. And it's sometimes it has to be done.
Yeah, it does. I think that it's one of those, as you said, about selling items that, end up being worth a lot more. We've all done it before. I sold 2 Lily PSA 10s from Dream League for one of them. I sold to Pallet in the community. I think I sold it to him for 200. He sold it for 2 grand.
Yeah.
But when you're selling these cards, when you're actually buying items, whether it's for a personal collection or, something that you're going to sell on in the future, I think keeping track of that also helps to justify that. If you're just looking back and going, right, well, I bought this car for this and I sold it, I regret it. But you don't think about that's why if you're taking the money out of the hobby and you're spending it on something else, for instance, I find it's a bit harder to justify. But we're all going to make losses. Let's be honest here. It's the way the hobby works. You can't predict everything. You can,
No, you can't.
staying liquid and trying to sort of judge it as it comes is a great way to look at it. But it's going to be impossible to kind of judge it. So, what is your holy grail item in your collection, your personal collection?
So currently it's part half owned with myself and Lottie. So it was that, funny enough, that early Art Academy card I bought off eBay for the £125. So when I went to Orlando for the CollectorCon at the same time, I visited CGC, who are like located in Sarasota, which is I think it's like an hour and a half drive. Obviously, I don't currently drive, which is my own fault, but I had to get an Uber for an hour and a half to CGC at like 7 o'clock in the morning, which was fun. But anyway, so I took all my art academies there. We had 9 at the time, and got them all graded because I wanted them to be in CGC slabs because I thought they weren't going to change, and now they've changed. But another story. So we currently own the Pop 1 Perfect 10 Art Academy like Raincoat Pikachu, which I can't remember the artist's name and I don't want to butcher it. But it's a Japanese one. You'd find it on my socials if you looked at Chibi Collectables on Instagram. It's literally my pinned comment. So that is like literally it's literally it's sentimental because the journey I've had it on. But it's also like it's a Pop 1. There's never going to be another one now after CGC have changed all their grading scale and everything. So it's kind of like people, and this is going on a bit of a sidetrack, but I think people underestimate the amount of people who know you for what cards you own. The Art Academy card and all of them that I took to Orlando, for that whole event, people would know who I was because of that one card. and would come up to me or see me show it off to someone and be like, "Oh, you're that guy," and it builds a lot of connections. And we were at card party, and this is a little funny story. So I'm not like I don't actively go out my way to introduce myself. I introduce myself as Sam. I don't really say like I'm Chibi Collectables. Like I'm not. I'm just me kind of thing. But someone that I've known for ages called Swolpoke. I introduced myself to him. I just went, "Hey, I'm Sam. It's nice to meet you." He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, didn't really know who I was. A little bit later in that day, I was showing off the perfect 10 to someone, and he looked over and went, "Oh, is that yours?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's mine." And he goes, "Oh, you're Chibi Collectibles?" I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And he's like, "Why didn't you say?" I was like, "Well, but I don't." It's like I don't introduce myself as Chibi Collectibles.
Well, that's
I'm just Sam. And it's like things like that where like people know you for what you own, and I think people kind of underestimate that in the hobby. As much as it's hard to like buy them high end cards, but people do know you and recognize you for what you own, and it sometimes is a really good
yeah,
conversation starter and like something where it breaks that ice a little bit, and you get to know someone a bit more to the point where it was my birthday on the Sunday, and Swolpoke gave me a gift. It was like a little key card from the 2004 Worlds, I think it was. And I was like, "Oh wow, I didn't even expect that." And it was because of my birthday. He's like, "Here's a gift, like enjoy it." I was like, "Oh, thanks." But it's like if things like that, I think people, yeah, really like underestimating the hobby. Like having good collections, big collections, whether that's it's difficult to attain. Don't get me wrong, it's way worth investing your money into. Just have that one signature card that people knew who you are, whether that's like a cool auto, it's obviously you're talking higher value and it's hard to then someone starting off to be like, well, you've got to spend £30,000 on a card. But it's like it takes time, it's not an instant thing, Pokemon.
Yeah.
Um
yeah.
yeah, it does massively help, like
Do you,
massively help.
do you ever get offers on it? Like,
Yeah, so it was actually quite funny actually. So I've never been contacted so much in my life on Instagram, apart from when I showed that card.
yeah,
I think I got a few offers on it. One was in like the $25,000 range, but at the time, like again with the art academies, it's something that we're never going to really sell. It'd be, I'm gonna retire whenever that's gonna be, or even like pay like we could pay the mortgage off on our house currently on just the art academy cards, and I'm like,
gosh,
I prefer shiny cardboard rather than a free mortgage. Like I'd rather keep them. I don't need it.
yeah,
So
Yeah,
it's one of them things where we've had offers, and I've had offers on quite a few of them, but it's not worth it to me. I'd rather, again, with that one with the perfect 10, I sell it, I'm never getting it back.
yeah,
So why sell it? And then it's kind of a brand identity as well. It's like it's not really worth it. And then what do I buy to replace it? And it's like even I was looking at like a Pika ring. Pika ring just sold for $25,000 in a PSA 10. It's like it's cool, but it's not a pop one, and there's also more of them. And it's like, where do you find that balance of what you want to buy and what you want to represent your business or who you are? Obviously, the best example is like Chloe and Dean with their Worlds card in a PSA 10 they've just got back. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
yeah.
But it does help. Like, yeah, it does massively help.
So I think we're nearly done. I've got one last question for you. Obviously, Jamie, feel free to ask a follow up question if you have anything left. So now that you are full time and it is just like non-stop, is it kind of speaking about capital as well? Like, is it hard taking sort of money out to pay yourself for bills and things like that when you know that capital is extremely important in building more? And sorry, another question is, do you struggle with burnout or worry about burnout too?
So with the money thing, it's actually quite funny. So this year I registered as a limited company, and I still haven't paid myself, and we're like 4 months in. And I don't really need the money in my own account. Luckily, for where we live, we're in Liverpool. The bills, the mortgage, we don't really pay out that much.
Yeah,
Like we make between us, we maybe do £1,000 a month, if that. Like we're really fortunate, and I think that helped starting off because I didn't have them massive bills
yeah,
behind me that I was like, oh no, how am I going to pay this bill? How am I going to do this? So we're kind of fortunate in that way. And then in burnout, I enjoy the hobby so much. Like I don't think I could ever burn out. Like no word of a lie. Like the funniest example is so we were at card party and like they've got a vendor hall. I'm there from 8 till like 4 p.m. every day grinding. I'm buying, I'm selling, I'm working trades with people, and I love it. And off the back of that, I had a lot of people who were very impressed with what I was doing and literally offered me like stuff to get involved in what I'm doing because they were like, yeah, we just like they could see that I enjoy what I do,
Yeah.
and it's not like it's not hard work. I'm I've come from a background of working like as a builder and a roofer, and I know what hard work is. This isn't hard work. This is fun. Don't get me wrong. The hours are longer, and I'll sit up at like maybe 1 a.m. pricing cards at times, but it's much easier than carrying bricks up a ladder all day, and it's not hard work, and I enjoy it so much that I don't think a burnout's like possible. Like not at this minute. I can't see why. I don't put enough stress on myself to like worry about it, and it kind of just happens and it's going well. I think if it was not going as well as I expected, maybe I'd get a bit stressed and be like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills this month, or I don't know how I'm going to do this, but everything keeps going better and better, and I've not got to the point now where I've been worried about paying anything, and I also luckily, and this isn't for everyone, but I have family who would help me out if I needed to, like if I needed a cash injection because there's something came up, there was maybe a world card that came up, and I was like I could make some good money on it. I've got money there that people could help me out with. But it's not something I rely on. I try and not do that. I want to build it
Yeah.
by myself and work the grind. And I don't want to just be giving everything on a
Yeah.
plate. I want to put the effort in and do it myself because I think it looks better at the end of the day. I don't want to be as one of them people where it looks like you've been given everything on a plate and it's it's just easy for them. Like they don't have to put the hard work in. But yeah, I'd rather put on a bit of graft and show people that I can actually do it off my own back and it isn't all off someone else or someone else's money. And yeah, kind of do my own thing. But yeah, I can't see me burning out.
Anything else, Jamie? Or-
I'm good. Yeah, that pretty
Cool.
much that was the question. I mean, just go back to the burnout anyway.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's glad that it's something you love. As you said, it's
Yeah,
completely different. It doesn't feel like work, which is, you know, when you're doing something you love so much and it doesn't feel like work. That's it, isn't it? Really,
yeah,
you found
massively.
it. So hats off to you for the amount of you know time and money that you put in to make this happen. Really, to build this dream with your partner.
Yeah,
It's inspiring to see from the other side, and yeah, good luck on your journey continuing.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Like, I just love talking to you and hearing your story, and yeah, your dedication is unreal, to be honest, by the sounds of things. Obviously, we'll leave all of your socials in the description down below. So if you want to go check out some of those Art Academy cards, we will leave that in the description. So yeah, go check that out. Go give him a follow and take a look at some of those insane cards that he has in his collection. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.